exercises that I'm going to show you are going to help to strengthen the muscles of the bottom, glute maximus and glute medius, the smaller outer muscle of the bottom. We're going to use the resistance bands, thera-bands. You could either have one of these loop bands, which you can place around the thighs, or you can take a long band and then tie the band in a knot around the legs. So take it under the thighs, tie a little knot, and have the legs as close together as possible before you tie the knot, and then you can tie the knot from there. You don't have to pull too tight for that second knot, just enough to give you that resistance to pull against. So those are the two options. I'm going to demonstrate with this little round loop band. So come onto your back when you're ready. And if you need any head support, pop something under your head. Otherwise, just resting your head onto the mat. Your spine and pelvis are in a neutral position to start, so make sure that the hips, the pubic bone, are level with one another. You've got the natural curve for the lower back and that curve for behind the head. The feet are a little closer to your bum than they might normally be, as long as the knees don't feel compressed in this position. And your knees are hip-width apart, they're in line with the hip sockets. And as I say, you've got that band around the thighs. Have it high-ish up towards the knees rather than down here towards the hips. So you're working with that resistance from the top. So we're going to start off, first of all, with a shoulder bridge or a pelvic lift. So the pelvis is going to come straight up off the mat and the back. The hips open to the ceiling, and then you come back down. Breathing out to lift. Breathing in to lower. Think of the backs of the arms and the shoulders pressing down into the mat as you lift up, and make sure the weight stays in the chest, in the breastbone. Try not to lift right up into the tops of the shoulders. Just check when you do come up that your hips are level with one another. Well, if one side is dropped a little lower, it probably suggests that that glute muscle is weaker, so you need to work a little bit more to bring the hips level, and then back down. Let's do 2 more sets. On the last set, we're just going to hold that for a little bit of time. So we're staying up here, keep squeezing the bottom from underneath, think of lengthening through the front of the hips, weight into the chest, the backs of the arms pressing gently into the mat. Just keep holding that position, breathing in and out. And then when you're ready, gently lower the bottom back down and stretch the legs out, release those hamstring muscles. You might actually find that you need to do a few hamstring stretches before you start all of these, because they're quite straining for the hamstrings. Okay, so next one, what we're going to do, to start to work into the outer muscles of the bottom, the glute medius, you're going to bring your arms back to the sides, feet, same position to start, but this time, keeping the bottom on the mat, you're going to open and close the knees. Breathing out, breathing in. So the legs moving against that resistance. Obviously, the stronger the band, the more you'll work those outer muscles. The one I'm using isn't actually particularly challenging. Always moving on the out breath away to engage your centering muscles. Just one more here. Then keep again the bottom nice and heavy. Keep your left leg nice and still. Right leg opens out to the side and comes back. And then you alternate, left leg opens and comes back. You might want to pop your hands in the front of your hips to make sure that you're not moving the pelvis, you're only moving your leg. So remember, only open the knee to where the pelvis doesn't roll to the other side. And watch the leg that isn't moving, or shouldn't be moving. Finish here. And then we're going to combine that side-to-side movement with your shoulder bridge. So when you're ready, come into your shoulder bridge. start with the double knees. So both knees open and release. You can come back to rest and then push yourself back up. And rest. Breathing out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in. Out to lift, in to open, out and in. Just watching as the knees open that the bottom doesn't start to drop down, which it might want to do. So always working strong from underneath. Feel that lift, hold that lift as the knees open. We'll do one more here and then we'll come back to that single knee movement. So when you're ready, come back into the shoulder bridge. Now stabilize on the left side, move on the right. Stabilize on the right, move on the left. You could rest between sets or you could stay up. Coming up, holding that position. Push through one side, push through the other. The knee that shouldn't be moving keeps going straight forwards or upwards towards the ceiling. Remember the pelvis, the hips are staying level throughout. There's no rocking, there's no dropping. 2 more sets. And last one to finish. And then coming back down to rest. Let's take the band away from the thighs. Give your legs a little hug to the chest to release any tension through the lower back. And again, if you want to stretch the legs out and release the hamstrings, give them a little shake. So let's do a little bit more here. We're going to come into a bit more work stabilizing one side of the pelvis to work those glutes from underneath whilst moving the other leg. So we're going to start with, again, your shoulder bridge. This time, keeping the hips level, keeping the bum lifted, the right leg floats up and then releases back. Come down to rest and swap sides. So you're keeping that stability across the spine, across the pelvis. You're working from underneath, using those bottom muscles. Keep squeezing from the back. You could stay up as you alternate the legs. So the right leg will come up, hold it up there, the left, and then come down to rest. Let's alternate left leg and follow with the right, and then come down to rest. Let's stay there, just shake it out, release the hamstrings. And then we'll take this into an exercise called raised battlement. So now we're moving a long leg away from the body. This is going to really fire up the glutes. But we also then obviously working the thighs at the front. Strong center as always. You come into your shoulder bridge when you're ready. The right leg floats up and you extend that leg. Turning the leg out inside the hip, so a little bit of rotation. Keeping the hips level, you lower that leg just to the height of the left knee. Lift and lower, lift and lower. And then bend the knee, rest the foot, and come down to rest. We come back up again. Extend the left leg to the ceiling, turn the leg out inside the hip, lower and lift. 3 sets, keeping the pelvis level. Bend that knee, rest the foot, come back to rest. Let's do one more to each side. Of course, you can do as many reps as you want. Keep breathing as you move, strong from underneath, from the back. Last one to finish. Remember, the leg is turned out inside the hip, the pelvis stays level. After the 3rd set, bend that knee, rest the foot down, come down through the back, stretch out the hamstrings just for a moment, and then we'll finish off with a little spine curl to release any tension through the lower back if you want. So feet back, hip width apart, maybe not quite as close to the bottom as before, but you can play around with the position. Nice heavy arms, tilt the pelvis, press your lower back down into the mat first, and then bone by bone, pick the spine up away from the floor. Still stay heavy in the chest, breath in at the top. It looks just like a shoulder bridge, but now we roll down, bone by bone through the spine, lengthening through the lower back. Only at the bottom, release the bottom, relax heavy into the mat. We'll just do 2 more to finish. Tilting to the north, pressing the lower back into the mat, pubic bone lifts up, and bone by bone we come away. Breathe in at the top, and breathe out to roll back. Good, just 1 more set to finish. When you finish there, either stretch out the legs again or hug them to the chest, anything to release tension in the rest of the body. Well done, really good work. So that should hopefully fire up those glutes at the back of the body. If you want a little bit more, I'm going to do some side lying work to really work into the sides of the hips.